Good afternoon. Welcome to the tea table. I am so happy you have joined me today. And if you haven't gotten your tea yet, you may pause and I will be waiting for you. Okay, I have brought a special tea tray today for you. And this is a little tea cozy that's very unique. I'm going to put this down. I'll tell you what's on the tea cart or tea tray. This cozy, I've never had one like this. My son brought me this from the Empress Hotel in Victoria. Do you see there the crown, the royal crown, and it says the Empress Hotel? Well, this tea cozy, I could not figure out how to use it. But what it is, it slides over the top and then it ties. And it keeps the tea very warm. See? And I have one in cobalt blue and it says Tea at the Empress. And it has the cross over the crown, reflecting that the Empress Hotel was named after Queen Victoria. And it was built right at the end or the beginning of empire in the 1890s, turn of the century in Victoria, BC. Now I'm going to put this down here. We're going to remove it now. And I put a very simple tea tray today. Very simple indeed. I have a nice small silver tea pitcher, and I have a special little treat, if you can see, and they are from Italy. And that's the country we're going to talk about today. These cookies are Caffè Bouvet, and they are made in Italy, imported, and they are very delicious. Italy has such special things that they export. I love their hand soap, their bars of soap. They have beautiful milled lavender soap, rose soap, even, oh my, I got one that was so lovely. And I think it was the peony flower scent. It was lovely. Well, this little dish that I decided to put the little cookies in, they're very small, is a very old dish that came from my grandmother. And it's my grandmother on my mother's side, and it says made in Austria. And I don't know where she got it. She was from Chicago. And actually she came to this country as a young girl from Scotland. And they immigrated to Canada. And then they lived in upstate New York. Her father, which would be my great-grandfather, was a designer of tartans and woolens. And he won prizes. He went to the London School of Design and he won prizes for his design of the tartans. He sat at a desk. I have some stationery of his, and his picture is on it, and his symbol was Weave Truth with Trust. Isn't that beautiful? His name was James Hendry. Well, she came, but this is not from Scotland. This is somehow someone gave this to her, and it's a very lovely Austrian piece of china. And you know, all the countries in Europe are so close. They interrelate. And you know, Austria, the Habsburgs, which ruled for hundreds and hundreds of years, they had a castle in northern Italy. And the last, it was the brother of the, Franz Joseph, who was the last Austrian king. And this, because after World War I, their throne was, they lost the war, and so their throne was lost. Very sad. But his brother, Maximilian, had gone to Italy and established a palace, and they had asked him to come. At that time, they didn't have a united country yet. Italy was trying to unite. It's a very sad story. He was actually assassinated, and very sad, but it was near Trieste. And my daughter that plays violin, well, they all play something, but she went to Italy 2 summers in a row to little Trieste. And this is a picture. There's a little picture of the castle. I don't think it's the castle that he ruled in, but it is a castle that sits high on a hill. This is northern Italy and looks over the Aegean Sea, and looks, all these places are so connecting because the people of Europe, Northern Europe, would go to Italy for their health, you know, because of the climate was so wonderful and Mediterranean and the breezes. So if they had health issues, they would often go to Italy. Many of the British writers, I know that, you know, Shelley and the Romantics, and Lord Byron and Keats, they all ended up in Italy, and they actually, Lake Como, and there's, as you analyze Italy, I've been looking at it all week, such a long country, so many levels of history and so much to see, because you have in the north Trieste, and then as you come down, you know, of course everyone wants to go to Rome, and then you have, well, before Rome you have Florence, where all the art of, you know, Michelangelo and all the great art is in Florence. It's just astounding. And then you go down through Naples, and then down in the boot area, you're getting on those beautiful fishing villages, Portofino, and I'm going to talk about them another time because I have something I want to share with you. But today I thought, I know that Italian ladies wear a lot of black in the past, and lace, and flowers, and they are were very beautifully dressed, and the Italians appreciated opera, art, and you know, the most famous glass blowing places in the world are in Italy. You know, the famous man Chihuly, who is actually from the Northwest, Pacific Northwest, he is Italian, and he went and studied in Italy, and his glass works are everywhere now. They're amazing, and that is an old art form that was developed through the years. In fact, I have a little, not a little, I have a big vase here that actually I will show you, and it's blown glass, and it has the colors. It has red and grays and blacks, but you know, it's just a little example of what they do, and their things are just so colorful. And you know, as you travel the world, you realize that the colors where the people live are definitely reflected in their clothing. I remember going through Scotland on the train for the very first time. I was very young, but I looked out. Oh my, the heather, all the browns and reds. I said, it looks like a tweed. It looks like a beautiful Harris tweed piece of cloth to make a suit. And you could just see all these tones and that blustery feeling, and then the sea and I could feel how the tweeds were made there. And when you go to Italy, they have this fabulous sunshine and roses and flowers and climate that gives them, really, when you're in a sunny climate, if you think about it, you don't have quite the pressure that you do in a cold climate. You don't have to worry about a coat all of the time, and boots and shoes, and we know that when we live in a climate where we have 4 seasons, and each season has different clothing. And generally our winters aren't too bad, but we've had some real lockdown snow at times. And then everyone gets out their snow gear and everyone puts it on and everyone takes it off. And if you have kids, on and off, you realize, wow. Now, if you lived in Southern California, you're not ever going to deal with that. So I know that parts of Italy, I know that up there is a part of the Alps that is Italian, that is absolutely gorgeous, and there would be snow there. And because the Alps, and you know, you have the Swiss, French, and German Alps, and then you have a little bit of Austria, and you know, when you get into Innsbruck and Berchtesgaden, but then there's the lower Italian Alps that I don't know if I've been there or not. It sounds crazy, but I was on a train going so many places, and I need to go back and read my journals because I loved everything I saw. It was so breathtaking, the Alps. And the thing that makes the Alps and Switzerland and Europe so special, we have the beauty here also, but what they have, because they've been there so long, they've created little cozy tea rooms and pensions. A pension is a little French. In German, it's called Gasthaus, or we would call it, it's not really an Airbnb because, well, maybe now you go ahead and online order it. I don't know. In my day, you just went and there would be out of people's homes. And even in Scotland, I remember staying in a bed and breakfast, they called it. And I stayed in Austria in the most wonderful, oh my goodness, when you got into their, I'm sure it's still this way, the comforters. Now we have down comforters in America, but they're not like the German, Austrian comforters. Their comforters are like that. The pillows are so puff. I've never experienced anything like, it's like going into the land of, all I can say is puff. It's just so wonderful. And they're real goose down, and they keep them for years. And they just shake them out, and then they'll wash the cover, you know, the duvet cover. Well, that was a little sidelight. But let's pour out. Let's go, and I chose a cup. And I found this little vase in my cupboard. It's so little. And I don't have very many roses right now because my roses all kind of bloomed and now they're getting ready. They're budding, but they're not blooming. They're in between. My roses do this. I don't know if yours do. So I found this little vase and I thought this is going to be a little tray today. And I chose for myself a cup that I feel looks so Italian. They have gold and reds and pinks and, you know, lovely. The French have it too, but the Italians go to another level. They're so wholehearted about their pasta, their opera, I love them. I love Italian. I love the whole experience I had in here. I'm pouring out, and this is a lovely silver teapot. And I chose this very small. Now, I didn't put sugar in because I don't use sugar, and I wanted to show you. This is unique. This is an enamel lined. I don't know why they don't do this with all of them. It's enamel lined sugar and creamer. So you're not having it against the silver. Put a little milk, a little splash, and I am going to take a sip of tea. Oh my, that is so delicious. I hope your tea's good. I'm gonna move these flowers over, move this over. Well, when my daughter went to Trieste, she went for 2 summers for a violin training program from her college. And I got into Italy then because I'm in the moment, and I have a fun little, really fun little thrift shop I frequent, and all the proceeds go to the Children's Hospital. It's a really good cause, and they have lovely things. Well, you know, you've heard if you have eyes to see. Well, I had eyes to see Italian. I was looking for Italian things. Look what I found. I said, my daughter's name is Elizabeth. I said, Elizabeth, I'm finding your souvenirs here. This is the boy carrying the basket of fruit. It's a famous sculptor. That's the other thing in Italy, all the art, all the wonderful sculpture. And this is the boy with the scythe. They call it the sickle. See the wheat? I don't know if it's white. I don't know if you can see, but he's got his scythe and he's sitting to rest now because he's been out harvesting the wheat. There's the wheat. And it has the little fleur-de-lis blue symbol. I studied this week the Italian china, and the real authentic Italian china, and it's actually called porcelain, and it is a soft porcelain, considering the German porcelain is harder, but this is a soft, chalky porcelain that's so lovely. And it said it has a blue fleur-de-lis on it, it's authentic, and there it is. And I found these for her, and I said, I'm collecting your souvenirs, because when we were in Europe last time, what was going on there was very similar to what we're experiencing here. They were doing a lot of outsourcing, and they weren't really making the things there. At least in Austria, there was a lot of outsourcing of the souvenir shops. They don't say where they're made, but they're not made in Austria. So I said, I'm going to find you some authentic Italian souvenirs. Then, and this was what she had brought me back, the Trieste little vase. She just brought me a little tiny souvenir back. She was a student and everything was pretty, you know, pretty frugal. And this is Italian, and it's a kind of a shows part of what they did. It's a kind of part china and part metal, and it's flowers. They do so many flowers, and it's a candle holder, and it's really old. I'm still looking this up to try to find out really, maybe somebody there knows the story. This is a certain type of pottery. That it's not really pottery, it's mixed with metal, very special. So that is my little Italian touches today. And I also have what I would consider when the ladies would go, Italian ladies, French ladies, all ladies, when they would go in the afternoon for their special afternoon tea with their lady friends, they would carry a small purse, or even in the evening. And this just looks so Italian. This is very vintage, and I'll show you what it does. It opens so differently. I've never had a purse open. It opens like that, and then this is it. And it is real silk and real beads, and actually it's made in Hong Kong. And the timing of this purse, Hong Kong was a top fashion designer place, you know, several years back. And this just has a feeling of just something so special. I wanted to show you that. That's my little purse for today. And I have my outfit is kind of I put a little shawl over what I have, but it also has, just on its own, I have kind of a lace top and with flowers, And I have a, what I consider, it isn't just Italian, but cameo. And I think cameos did actually come from Italy. It's part of that art they have, the carving, even the little miniatures. I should be playing my Pavarotti tape for you today. Just try to imagine it, because I love opera, and truly, I miss Pavarotti. He was so wonderful. And you know, the way the Italians learned to sing, it's generational. Their fathers sang. Pavarotti's father sang in the church, and the grandfathers sang. And then Pavarotti listened to opera, and then he would go out in the woods and sing the opera. And that's how music is learned. I've heard it said, music is the ear, and art is training your eye. So it isn't just your voice or your hand painting. It's the eye seeing and then creating. It's the ear hearing and then playing. And I just feel that I love different European things, and my daughter-in-law her people came from Italy, from down in the boot, and they had to flee. They had to flee and leave everything when Mussolini came in. And the estate that their family had now is a wedding venue, a beautiful estate. But you know, when you had your life, you didn't care. You left. And she told me that her grandmother told her when they came to America, be in the 1920s, they had to take all their silk dresses off because they wanted to be like Americans. They didn't know how to cook or clean. They had had maids. They had lived in a very aristocratic Italian life. But they gave it all up, and they loved America. And they thanked God they were all alive, and they all made it out. So I have other friends that fled Germany in the war, and they've told me it doesn't matter what you leave behind. You are so grateful to God that you have your life. I really want to encourage you this day, this week. I have had many calls this week from different people, and it seems like there are so many needs that people have that come into their lives. And you know, we all want a smooth ride, but life has bumps, and it presents us with situations we would have never imagined, and we have nothing to do with, but there they are facing us. And you know, as I've pondered this all week and spent time in prayer and reading the Word, my conclusion has been the greatest wisdom we can have and the greatest comfort we can have would be to take time to read the words of Jesus. You know, the last few years, people were saying, well, what would Jesus do? What? And then do it. But you know, we don't really know what Jesus would do. We have examples in the Bible, but we don't know what he would do in every situation. Jesus was always surprising everyone. But what we do know is we have his words written down in the Bible. And so what we should maybe say is, what would Jesus say? And then we will know what, because he has written, he has spoken, and it's written down. In the New Testament, there are 4 Gospels: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. 4 different disciples of Christ wrote the story of his birth, his life, his death, his resurrection, and his ascension. And in most Bibles, the words of Jesus will be read. So it's really easy to find out what he said. And I've been just thinking of some of the words that are in my heart. I know my mother and my husband's mother both used to love John 14, and they used to quote it. I remember them quoting it together at one of our family Thanksgivings, and it's a precious memory to me because they were both positive, upbeat, happy, faith-filled people, both of them, because they trusted in the Lord. They didn't have perfect lives. They had things hit them the same way everybody else has things hit them. But I observed they could go through because they had faith. And how did they get that faith? They spent time in that precious book called the Bible, which is called eternal. Jesus said there's only two things that are eternal. Everything we see in this world will pass away. But the two things that will be eternal are the Word of God and our souls. It would behoove us to spend time in this treasure box of jewels, these promises in God's Word. Well, the passage they used to quote, and I'm just going to give a little of it. You can look up John 14. It's a famous word when Jesus is leaving. He goes, "Let not your heart be troubled. If you believe in God, believe in me. For in my Father's house are many mansions, and I go to prepare a place for you, that where I am, you will be also." Isn't that beautiful? My other favorite is, "Come unto me, all ye that are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light." That's a promise. If our burden is heavy, it is not from God. We must take that burden and give it to Him. If it's a person in our life, if it's a situation in our life, do what you can and then commit and give them in your mind and heart and prayer to Jesus. Put them right up on Jesus's lap. He can take care of them better than you. We're only human and we can't carry burdens that aren't ours. This is a secret to the joy of the Lord, because also the promise is the joy of the Lord is our strength. And we get joy when we know we let Him come in, we open our hearts, we let Him come in, we become His children. That means He is in charge. He is taking care of us. And we receive that. We receive that. The result will be peace. So I encourage you, get your nicest teacup, get a nice pot, get anything you can find. Invite a friend and have a cup of tea together and talk about the loving blessing of knowing God's love. It's right there. It's a gift. We can't earn it. All we can do is receive it. Thank you so much for joining me. I pray whatever your need is, you will find miracles. You will find victory and tremendous solutions. You will see good things come your way. So please, I look forward to seeing you next time. I forgot to tell you one thing. If you could go to my YouTube channel, subscribe, push like, and ring the bell, that would be really helpful because I have been sending these tea talks out, but there are so many people, I don't know how to get them out. But if you subscribe and push the bell, you'll get a notification, and then you won't miss one of the tea talks. And you can share it with your friends. Everyone is welcome to the tea table. Okay, thanks again, and God bless you. Have a wonderful week.